this is actually second part of heme catabolism. We have already done how heme converts into bilirubin. So here in this topic, we will talk about liver function tests and jaundice. A part of jaundice we have already done in last class. So we already know this is the spectrum that we see especially in unit. So 2, I told you to remember 1 and 2 number. So you can see 0.2 to 1.2 is normal bilirubin concentration. When it comes to be more than 1.2, it is called hyperbilirubinemia. When it is more than 2, it is jaundice, and when it is more than 20, it is called Kernicke. There will be the jaundice will have harmful effect on brain. The condition is called Kernicterus. So you can see you must have studied jaundice, physical signs of jaundice in your ICM. Jaundice is also called icterus. So you must have studied. This is general investigation. You have to see this jaundice in general when you see general examination. So you have to see pallor, icterus, clubbing, cyanosis, lymph node, and edema. These are the presentation you have to see. These are the general presentation you have to do in general examination. So this is one of the manifestation you will see in general examination. So these are the jaundice we have done. These are, I told you this is from snapshot I've taken from first aid. So you can see jaundice. Jaundice has been classified this way here. So conjugated, that is why this is very important for diagnostically conjugated bilirubin. We measure bilirubin test. We do bilirubin test. We find this conjugated bilirubin. A conjugated bilirubin is called direct bilirubin. Okay, unconjugated bilirubin is called indirect bilirubin. So there are certain conditions where you will see conjugated bilirubin is very high. Certain condition you will see unconjugated bilirubin is very high. And then there are certain conditions where the mixed type of jaundice, both conjugated and unconjugated bilirubin will be there. So conjugated hyperbilirubinemia is because of obstruction generally. Obstruction. So obstruction, you can see gallstone obstruction, or it may be because of carcinoma of bile duct, cholangiocarcinoma, carcinoma of pancreas, liver cancer, liver fluke, the infestation of with the fluke. So this type of condition will cause liver bile duct obstruction, and then conjugated bilirubin to regurgitate into the blood. From liver, it regurgitate into the blood. This is what is called conjugated hyperbilirubinemia. And conjugated hyperbilirubinemia you will also see in congenital condition where the transporter is defective. These two we have studied, Dubin-Johansen and Rotor syndrome. Here in Dubin-Johansen syndrome, which transporter is defective, and Rotor syndrome, which transporter is defective. Here you can see MRP, maximum retail price. You can see MRP. The full form is not maximum retail price. It is multi-drug resistant protein 2. Now this Rotor syndrome has deficiency of what? I told you to remember ATP 1B1. So what ATP? OATP, organic anion transporter 1B1. This protein is defective here. So this actually regurgitated bilirubin, it actually take the regurgitated conjugated bilirubin. It actually excretes. So we have already done about these transporters. So defect in this transporter will cause conjugated hyperbilirubinemia. And these are some other conditions where you will see when there is sclerosing, when bile cholangitis means bile duct, the duct canaliculi or bile duct is actually not patent. In that case also, any condition, it can be sclerosing, it can be because of any obstruction bile. This all condition will cause what? Obstruction. So obstruction is the cause for here also molecular obstruction. So anyway, obstruction is the cause for high conjugated bilirubin. Now, so unconjugated bilirubin, you can see hemolysis is the number one cause of the unconjugated bilirubin. One is hemolysis, Other is the protein that causes conjugation. The protein that causes conjugation is uridyl transferase, UGT, uridine glucuronide transferase. Okay, 1A1. So this protein, if it is absent, this enzyme is absent, this will cause not conjugation, this will not let bilirubin be conjugated because of absence, because this is the one which conjugate. So in that condition also unconjugated bilirubin will be high. Or if there is very high flow of bilirubin, if bilirubin in blood is very high because of hemolysis, in that condition also you will get. And third is this physiological jaundice. Normally physiological jaundice has high unconjugated bilirubin. Now physiological jaundice is this. This is physiological. Here you will see high unconjugated bilirubin. And because why? The same reason. But here UDP glucuronide transferase is immature. And in newborn baby, blood is actually, the hemoglobin is actually converting, this fetal hemoglobin is being taken up by body, taken up. And new bilirubin is being formed. Adult hemoglobin is this fetal hemoglobin is being replaced by adult hemoglobin. So this, there will be hemolysis of this. And if hemolysis of this fetal hemoglobin is very, because hemolysis of fetal hemoglobin is very high, and that also actually provide very high amount of substrate and immature. So both region will play here the role of high unconjugated bilirubin. Now we can see biliary, you can study biliary atresia yourself, and this will be again be revised in your pathology also. So don't worry about it. So after this class, we will actually do TBL based on this class. That is why just focus on this class nicely. So I am going to teach you first, and I am going to take the exam of the same thing, so you can understand that. Now you can see this jaundice. Jaundice I have classified. Actually jaundice, if you classify into this three category, that will be more comprehensible. So first is, this is normal. This is congenital jaundice, where molecular defect, you will see molecular defects. These are acquired jaundice. Though see, in hemolytic jaundice, sometimes it is hemolytic jaundice can be congenital, but I have grouped into so that for the convenience. Okay, just understand this thing. So these are acquired jaundice, and you can see these are congenital jaundice. That happens because of molecular mutation. And this is acquired jaundice. Acquired jaundice we have classified. Generally, you have also studied this classification in physiology. So you have seen pre-hepatic, hepatic, and post-hepatic jaundice. So we have categorized this into acquired jaundice. And neonatal jaundice is very physiological. It is physiological, normally happens. The all newborn baby has to go through a certain degree of hemolysis and formation of bilirubin. Every baby has to go through this stage. So this is normal neonatal jaundice. Sometimes neonate can have pathological hemolysis. So you will study that in further in pediatrics. For the time being, it will serve our purpose. If you memorize this, if you try to divide jaundice into three categories, it will be very helpful for you. Not only for this class, it will be helpful for you throughout your career. So understand this. So Crigler-Najjar syndrome, CNCN, and then Gilbert syndrome. This Crigler-Najjar syndrome are of two types, and Gilbert syndrome. All these three have deficiency of transferase, glucuronide transferase. This has the highest zero. There will be zero enzyme here. There will be enzyme actually activity will be increased as you go from Crigler-Najjar 1 to 2 to Gilbert. Gilbert has highest activity. And all these cases you will have unconjugated. So red marking is for unconjugated bilirubin. All these have unconjugated bilirubin. And this blue marking for conjugated, both have conjugated bilirubin, and both are benign. I told you both are benign. Both are benign. No treatment required. Only in Dubé-Johansen syndrome, the liver will have different color. I have already explained why color of liver changes. Now here you can see this will be benign, Gilbert, but this two can have problem. Crigler-Najjar will have problem. Gilbert is also benign. All these three are benign. No, just sometimes only treatment may be no treatment. Just think that no treatment is required in this thing. That is why they are benign. But these two, Gilbert 1 and 2, especially 1 is very difficult to treat. 2 2 will also have problem, but 2 can sustain. But Gilbert syndrome 1 and 2, remember Crigler-Najjar syndrome, sorry for Gilbert, telling Gilbert. Crigler-Najjar 1 and 2 both require treatment. This severity is very high in Gilbert 1. 1 is number 1 in severity. So you can remember severity, number 1 in severity. Now this is neonatal jaundice. You can see red marking. That is why here also you will see unconjugated bilirubin high. You know, here also what is the reason? Reason is decreased conjugation because of immature UGT1A1 and increased hemolysis. These two are the reason. Here, if you can see here, so only pre-hepatic hemolytic jaundice has very high amount of unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia, and this post-hepatic will have only conjugated hyperbilirubinemia, and hepatic will have both. Now, if you see in all these cases, you will not find anywhere both type of any cases where both bilirubin is present. This is the only one. So it is very easy to remember. This is the only one condition where you will find both bilirubin high, both conjugated and hepatic is the jaundice where both conjugated and unconjugated bilirubin are high. So only one condition you have seen, both. Otherwise, they are isolated. Either conjugated is high or unconjugated is high. And if you see the enzyme, liver enzyme, if you see liver enzyme high liver enzyme, you will see in only in hepatic and post-hepatic. So it is very easy to understand. In all other conditions, here the liver enzyme will be normal. Here also liver enzyme will be normal. Here also liver enzyme will be normal. So you can understand, you can segregate based on liver enzyme also. What is the pathology of this condition? Now let's talk about this liver function test. So liver function test, we can see liver function test. We can classify liver function test into 3 groups. First, we do bilirubin test. Second, enzyme test, and third is synthetic test. You know what are the function of liver? You must have studied. Liver has synthetic function. Liver has detoxification function. Liver has what other function? Metabolic function. Okay, so this all function liver have. You can see synthetic function. You measure the protein inside the liver, you will find the synthetic capacity of liver. Now you can find this bilirubin. Bilirubin is somewhat detoxification capacity. So liver conjugation by liver is all basically detoxification. So it is not completely, there is other set of tests are present for detoxification. Actually, we don't do that test these days. We only do for liver function test this 3 set of tests. If you remember, memorize this test, that will be perfect for you. Now enzymatic test, you can see enzyme shows the actually cell destruction. If hepatic cell, inside the cell there is ALP and AST. AST, you know what is AST? AST and ALT we have already done. AST, ALT has vitamin B6. These are transaminases. Vitamin B6 requiring transaminase. We have already done the reaction catalyzed by this AST and ALT. Now this same type of AST, ALT is present inside liver cell. What will happen is when this cell breaks down, this enzyme come out. AST, ALT, and then ALP come out in the blood. They come out in the blood. And that is why this enzyme become a very favorite diagnostic marker for liver disease. When this cell dies, liver cell dies, this enzyme comes out in the blood cell. And these are normally active inside liver, not outside. These are not normal resident of plasma. These are normal resident of hepatocyte. So when hepatocyte breaks, these enzymes come into the blood. And that is how, if these enzymes are high in blood, we understand that there is damage in hepatocyte. So this is the reason of doing this test, ALP, AST, ALT. So you know this is synthetic function. If liver is damaged, so synthesis of bilirubin will be low. PT, prothrombin time will be high because prothrombin is low. Prothrombin is low, and that is why prothrombin time will be high. So this is how you can see if there is liver damage, bilirubin will also be high. So let's see the normal condition, normal concentration of bilirubin. I have here presented normal concentration as roundabout figure so that you will remember. So I have, see, you can, we measure only two types of bilirubin. One is soluble bilirubin. Soluble bilirubin is called direct bilirubin. And coincidentally, soluble bilirubin normally is conjugated bilirubin. So conjugated bilirubin comes to be direct bilirubin. And unconjugated bilirubin is indirect. We don't measure indirect bilirubin. Remember, we don't measure indirect bilirubin. What we do, we measure in laboratory total bilirubin and we measure direct bilirubin. So total bilirubin is concentration is 1.2. I have already told you in the previous slide. If you see 1.2, less than 1.2 is normal point. So 1.2, less than 1.2 is the normal total bilirubin concentration, and direct bilirubin is less than 0.4. So very easy to remember, less than 0.4, less than 1.4. If you add here 0.8, it becomes 1.2. So 4 plus 8, 4 2s are 8 and 4 3s are, like that you can remember easily, 4, 8 and 12. So here you can subtract from total bilirubin direct bilirubin and you get the value of normal value of indirect bilirubin. So this is 0.8 per mg per deciliter is concentration, normal concentration of this bilirubin. Now bilirubin is a very, very important test. One of the important tests. If you do bilirubin only, can you see, you can segregate many things based on bilirubin only. You can segregate this hepatic from post-hepatic from pre-hepatic. But fine segregation requires liver enzyme to be done. And that is why we go for liver enzyme. Now you can see alkaline phosphatase. Alkaline phosphatase, this enzyme, this very enzyme is present on the biliary canaliculi. If you see, these are hepatocyte biliary canaliculi. These are resident of biliary canaliculi, not inside the hepatocyte. That is why biliary obstruction will cause increase in alkaline phosphatase. Normal is less than 100 unit per liter. If there is high alkaline phosphatase, this means there is biliary obstruction. Only one meaning. Alkaline phosphatase means biliary obstruction. You can see I have already given you what is the significance of AST and ALT. When AST and ALT rise, it signifies hepatocellular damage, cell damage, because these enzymes are resident of liver cell, hepatocytes. So hepatocellular damage. Okay. So here you can see AST is more than ALT in alcoholic liver disease. So we will talk about this AST and ALT relation. First, just understand ALT and AST means hepatocellular damage and ALP means biliary obstruction. That is the perfect thing you need to know for the time being. If you understand the meaning of this high alkaline phosphatase is biliary obstruction, and meaning of this ALT and AST rises hepatocellular damage, that is very good to begin with the liver function test. Actually, this is the meaning. Okay. So you can see the normal. I have made it in round figure so that you will remember for longer time. Actually, this normal value will be given in your exams. So it's very easy to remember also. Less than 50, this is also less than 50, this is also less than 100. And only 4 or 5 differences are there. 5-point differences are there. Otherwise, it is also only 15. If you can remember 15, that is good. So less than 50, less than 15, this is less than 100. And here you can see albumin concentration 3.5 to 5.5 gram. See gram, this is gram, not mg. Here is mg, this is gram. Albumin, protein and hemoglobin, they are measured in gram. Protein and hemoglobin measured in gram. So what does albumin show? Albumin gives you idea about chronicity of the disorder. This albumin has half-life of 3 weeks. Okay, so liver damage if liver damage happens for more than like 1 month, then only your albumin falls down. Okay, if if somebody's liver damage is for more than 1 month, this means chronic, then only albumin falls down. Otherwise, in acute condition, albumin will be normal. But if you test the prothrombin time, so prothrombin time, about the half-life of the prothrombin time is not more than about, you can say, 1 to 2 days only. Okay, so if liver damage is acute, so what will happen? Prothrombin time will be high and this will be normal. But if chronic, this will be high and this will also be high. So that is why albumin is used to find out chronic liver disease. If liver disease is chronic, then there will be low albumin and this high prothrombin time. If liver disease is acute, this will be high, but this will be normal. Now, we have done liver function tests. So we will compare these two now. AST, ALT. What is the value of this ALT, AST when we compare? So comparison of AST and to ALT is also very important. And this comparison is done by very important ratio. The ratio is called de-Ritis ratio. Above we are AST, not ALT. AS by ALT. AST by ALT is de-Ritis ratio. So what will happen in chronic condition? You have hepatocyte, and in hepatocyte you have many mitochondria. Yes, nucleus is there, many mitochondria are there. So in acute condition, there will be the AST that come from the cell is only AST of cytosol. But in chronic condition, or because of any toxins, chronic condition or toxin. What are toxin? Alcohol is also a toxin, or other toxin, hepatotoxic substances that will damage this mitochondria directly. As a result of this, the mitochondrial AST is there present in mitochondria in very high amount. So this ALT is not present in mitochondria. ALT is only cytosol. So, okay. So remember, this is not mitochondria. See, this is mitochondria, mitochondrial AST. This mitochondrial AST, because of damage to mitochondrial membrane, this will also come out of the membrane. Now you can see AST concentration is very high. So, and ALT is the same that is derived from cytosol. So as a result, AST will become very high in liver disease. You can see organic toxic hepatitis, and then you can see in alcoholic liver disease, and toxin will cause AST to go very high, and that is why this AST ALT ratio will be more than 2 in case of toxin and liver hepatic, this is alcoholic liver disease. So this is a very diagnostic marker through which we can separate infective hepatitis and toxin related hepatitis. Okay, so you can see toxic hepatitis will have very high AST, and that is why this ratio is high. Here in cirrhosis, it's a chronic hepatitis. In that condition also AST will be high, but not as high as this. So you can see high. It is high, more than 1.4 and less than 2, but not high. Yes, it is high, but not that high. Because in chronic condition, actually cell will be fibrosed. Both AST decreases and ALT also decreases. Because AST concentration is higher inside cell. If you combine cell, AST concentration is higher. That is why you can see AST higher concentration here. In normal individual, so extrahepatic biliary obstruction. In actually normal individual, this is about 1. This is about 1. But in extrahepatic obstruction, okay, in obstruction where there is stone, biliary stone, calculi, where there is cancer of any pancreas, of cancer of pancreas. In such condition, cholangitis, pancreas of called bile duct. So in such condition, AST actually ALT will be higher than AST. In acute, ALT will be still higher. In acute condition, the release from this AST will release. So ALT will be higher than AST. ALT will be very high in comparison to AST. In acute condition, ALT will be higher. Okay, remember this. In chronic condition, AST will be higher. So this, if you comparison these two, this will be very easy to segregate enzymes. Now I will tell you one very important thing here is, like you can see here, ALP, alkaline phosphatase, is a very unique type of enzyme. ALP, alkaline phosphatase, is this enzyme is very important for bone formation. Bone formation. Okay, this enzyme is also present in, secreted by placenta in pregnant women. In pregnant woman, it is secreted for placenta. In growing bone, ALP is actually a very important enzyme. So that is why in growing people, in children, so ALP, you will see normally high ALP. So that what I mean to say, ALP is present in bone also. ALP is present in placenta also. From placenta also ALP comes into blood. Okay, blood. And from in diseased condition, from liver also ALP comes. So how do you define whether this ALP is from liver or bone or placenta? There is a simple test you can do and find out if this ALP is. There are techniques you can find. So these are the techniques you can see. You can do one extra test, gamma glutamyl transferase test, or you can do 5' nucleotidase. If this enzyme is high along with ALP, so what do we understand? That this ALP is derived from liver, because liver has damage, and that damage has caused elevation of this enzyme also, and that is how we define ALP origin from this. But if ALP is high ALP is there, but this gamma GT is normal, so what do we find? The ALP source of ALP is somewhere else. From somewhere else ALP is being produced. It can be either placenta or bone. Placenta if the pregnant, in case of pregnancy, or bone in case of growing babies, growing children. So understand ALP. This is the significance of doing gamma GT. And one more significance of gamma GT. So gamma GT actually in alcoholic patient, gamma GT is very high, GGT is very high. So this also signifies alcoholic condition. So recent, actually acute alcohol intake, recent high gamma GGT also signifies alcohol intake. Did you understand this liver function test? Is there any question? Yes. Any question? Okay. So we will go little faster now. Liver function test is, so to establish source of ALP as liver function test, and GGT is also clue for alcoholic liver disease. So remember this, if you understand this, memorize this and understand these 3 slides, so you will not have problem in liver function test. So see, this is the problem. You can see this is the problem in acquired jaundice. Acquired jaundice, as I told you, in pre-hepatic, that is hemolytic jaundice, no enzyme changes. So enzyme is normal, I have told you. So only which bilirubin, you know it, only indirect bilirubin is high. Unconjugated bilirubin means indirect bilirubin is high. So bilirubin is normal. Your urine is also normal. What happens? Stool, because more bilirubin, unconjugated, if unconjugated bilirubin is very high, so this unconjugated will conjugate, this conjugated bilirubin will also be high in comparison to normal. In normal, this bilirubin reach intestine and stool will be a little bit darker, more darker in color, normal to dark color. and this is associated with hemolytic anemia generally. So understand this pre-hepatic jaundice. Hepatic jaundice, I told you, both enzyme, actually both bilirubin is raised only in hepatic jaundice, not elsewhere. So characteristic of hepatic jaundice is both bilirubin is raised. Only in hepatic jaundice, both bilirubin is raised. And hepatic jaundice, cell damage. Cell damage means ALT, AST rise. Now, hepatic jaundice will have only cell damage and no biliary obstruction. And that is why this bile will actually, there will be micro obstruction. So you know this ALT, AST rise. So urine will have very high bilirubin. Bile duct, what happens is bile duct, this is, remember this is hepatocyte. There will be bile duct, biliary canaliculi. Biliary canaliculi will be joining with, what is this? What happened? This is what happens. Okay, great. So this bile duct, biliary canaliculi will join bile duct, and if there is any problem in cell has swelling capacity, cell will swell. When cells are swollen, this will actually obstruct this biliary canaliculi in hepatic jaundice also. As a result of that, bile and bilirubin will not be able to flow through this. So in hepatic jaundice also, not in the beginning, later, because of cell swelling, there will be regurgitation of bilirubin. Regurgitation of bilirubin. So regurgitation of bilirubin you will see in hepatic jaundice also, and post-hepatic it is obvious. So in hepatic jaundice, bilirubin is actually regurgitated. So urine will be dark, but because this bilirubin is not reaching intestine, not reaching intestine, that is why bilirubin, the stool will have low color. Here also, because bilirubin is not reaching intestine, low color. So both cases low color. Here you can easily understand in post-hepatic, direct bilirubin will be high. Hepatic, because biliary obstruction will cause ALP very high. So ALP will be very high. Now here urine will also be dark. Here clay colored stool, here also clay colored stool, normal stool. This is hepatic is associated with infection. This is called viral infection. Hepatitis viruses A, B, C. It can be D also, and E. A and E are, you know, A and you will study if you don't know. They are actually transmitted through fecal-oral route. So these are transmitted through water and food. Now, alcoholic liver disease can cause hepatic jaundice, these toxins. So these are glycogen storage diseases we have studied. That's glycogen storage, because of glycogen accumulation, it will cause. Now, alpha-1 antitrypsin, don't forget this also. These are rare genetic disorder, but this is important for biochemistry. That is why I have mentioned this, to revise what we have studied. Now, post-hepatic jaundice, you can see biliary canaliculi we have done, pancreatic, carcinoma, malabsorption. This all problem will lead to post-hepatic jaundice, you know. So what is their true terminology? You will see choluric and non-acholuric and choluric. Choluric means cholic acid. You know what is cholic acid? Cholic acid is bile. So cholic means bile, urine containing bile and urine without bile. So which condition will have bile in urine? Obstructive jaundice. Obstructive jaundice will have bile in urine. So this is called choluric jaundice. So actually these are the terminology used before, because bile was very important for diagnosis before, because urine, see, urine, they used to take urine and they used to put here sulfur powder. If this urine has bile salts, if this urine has bile salts here, so bile salts are soluble like soap. So this will actually drawn, this sulfur powder would sink because of bile salt. If there is no bile salt, here, if there is no bile salt, the sulfur powder would float And that was the significance. And that is why they used to use this test. And that is how they used to classify this jaundice into two. Choleric jaundice means the bile salt in the urine, and acholeric means which does not have bile salt in the urine. So bile salt in urine will be, obstructive jaundice will have bile salt in urine, and then also in hepatic jaundice, because of micro obstruction later, it can also have bile salt in urine. So both can be called as choleric jaundice. But hemolytic is not a choleric, it is acholeric. So remember these two terminology. Now let's say, so it is very easy. Now you can easily segregate. So hepatocellular will have very high ALT, AST. Very high ALT, AST, more than 10 times normal, upper reference limit. It will be more than 50. If you see, if you multiply this 5 into 10, it will be more than 500. So about this hepatocellular will have ALT, AST more than 500 in acute cases. In acute cases, more than 500 in acute cases. In chronic cases, it will be less than 500. So you can understand, you in hepatic jaundice, you focus on ALT, AST more than ALP, because ALP will also be raised. Why ALP is raised? Because of micro obstruction. ALP will also be raised, but we focus on here in hepatocellular jaundice. In cholestatic jaundice, we focus more on ALP. ALP concentration will be about more than 3 times high. So more than 3 times high means 300, more than 300 in dilated, in actually this obstructive jaundice, more than 3 times high will be there in obstructive jaundice. But here you will see less than. In hepatic jaundice, the ALP will be high, but ALP will be 3 times more than, less than 3 times. So this is the differentiation based on enzyme. You can differentiate based on enzyme, hepatocellular and cholestatic jaundice. So we will do some questions, then you will understand. So